Hey all, it's Bear. It's Saturday, February 18th, 2023, and I wanted to knock out a quick video in response to a comment that was posted on another video. And the reason I wanted to do this is because it's a question I get all the time in support spaces or when people reach out to me as a transgender service member. Questions on videos. It's a question I get all the time. It's actually two questions that I get all the time. So the first one is, do you have to be quote unquote fully transitioned in order to join the United States military as a transgender person? The answer is simply no. Short answer, no. But I really wanted to address the question because what does fully transitioned mean? It's 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 a blanket term that means something to people that don't understand what being trans is. Hi, Tyrion. Um, there's no such thing as being fully transitioned. Uh, that's not a thing. People think like that you have to check off certain boxes in order to transition when you come out as transgender, and that's just not a thing. Trans is a different thing for everyone. Everyone has different body dysphoria, and they have different goals for transitioning. So for some people, transitioning literally means just socially transitioning and dressing as the gender that they identify as, and they don't pursue any kind of medical transition or legal transition at all. Some people really, really, really want to alter their body because they have tremendous dysphoria. Some people really want to legally transition and live stealth and update their entire persona. So the idea of being fully transitioned means something different to every different trans person. Um, so the idea that the military would say like a blanket term like that, that's not how the military works. The military is very much into defining exactly what something means, right? So, for instance, in the Air Force dress and appearance standards, at one point it said that you couldn't have a fattish haircut. Well, they got rid of that terminology because that's just way too ambiguous, and they defined exactly how much bulk the top of the hair could have, exactly what a fade looks like, exactly how long a line could be if you wanted a line etched into your hair. There is no like ambiguous standard of you can't have a fattish haircut, right? So the same thing for one must be fully transitioned. It's just way too ambiguous because I come in and I go, hey, yeah, I am fully transitioned, meaning that I got on testosterone, I got my documents changed, and I had top surgery. That's all I want for my body, right? So, I mean, what people mean by that is they think that you have to have had everything that's possibly alterable. That's not a word. You have to have everything done to your body that's humanly possible. And again, it's so unapplicable. I almost feel like I should just stop talking about it. So I will. I will stop talking about it. It's not true. You don't need to be fully transitioned in order to join the military. What you need to have done is you have to have had you in order to join as your preferred gender rather than your birth gender. You need to have gotten your documents legally updated to your new name or the name that you want to join as and the gender that you identify as. That's so that you can meet standards for PT and for uniform. Because for dress uniforms, they are different for male or female. There's no like in between or non-binary or anything like that. You have to choose male or female. Same thing for PT standards. So that's why you have to have that stuff updated, and it's going to determine what dormitory you are assigned to for basic training and other things, right? Like I went on a temporary duty assignment a couple months ago and I was in a male dorm, so forth. Um, and then you have to be 18 months stable on your current dose of hormone therapy if you are on hormone therapy. You have to be 18 months post op if you've had any surgeries, and that goes for most surgeries. So if you had like an appendectomy, like a non trans surgery, you need to meet that standard as well. That's most, not all. There are some exceptions. You can get waivers. Um, and you need to be able to meet standards for your preferred gender, right? So you have to be able to meet PT standards and height and weight standards and stuff like that. So that's item number one. Item number two is this myth that you can't take your hormone replacement therapy to basic training. And again, that is based on a general standard. Generally, they don't want you on medications during basic training. So if you are on any kind of medication that you can't go off of, it makes you it disqualifies you for military service. They do not want people going into basic training when they are dependent on a medication like insulin. You are disqualified if you are a diabetic going into the service. However, you can develop diabetes later and stay in the service, right? So that goes for lots and lots of medications. You know, asthma is a big disqualifier because you could die without your medication, or you could die, from an asthma attack. Many things like that. Mental health medications, same thing. Can't get into the military if you are dependent on a medication that regulates your mental health. However, you can develop mental health issues later on in your life and go on those medications. Happens to a lot of people. You get into the service and you realize that you've had ADD your whole life, and hey, there's a medication that can help you with that. You go on it, you get balanced out, and you move on with your life in the service. But you can't get into the service if you've had that diagnosis. So this myth that you can't be on HRT for basic training, it's based on a real standard. However, one thing that sets trans people apart, and one of the reasons that we were not eligible for so long, is the fact that we take hormone therapy and we're not so much dependent on it. We're not going to die without it, but it does regulate how our body functions, whereas a cisgender person has testicles or ovaries, and that's regulating how you function, right? So we're dependent on it, but not like life or death dependent on it. And that's one of the things that they looked at in changing the policy on trans people serving, was what are we going to do about their medications? And that's a big difference, right? Like, I went to basic training with my supply of hormone therapy, and then once I graduated, I was able to go to the med group and say, I need this medication, and I got a referral for an endocrinologist, and now I just get my medication through them. And because of the job that I hold in the military, they monitor what medication you're on. I just report it. Hey, I take testosterone and this is the dose that I'm on, and they're like, okay, cool, let us know if that changes. So it makes sense that recruiters tell people that, but it's like a really common myth that it scares people from even approaching a recruiter or following up on that, and it's something that we really have to kind of dispel. So that's why I wanted to sit down and make a video. Again, I get this a lot, and it's really easy for me to answer questions by just dropping a link to the video. So thanks for listening. Let me know if you have any other questions about how any of that works, or how I handled that, or how you can maybe educate a recruiter that tells you any of that. And I'll see you next time.